My name is Rob Satrom with Feedbackwrench. I own this cool little firm. We help small businesses with their websites and their paid ads. But I tell you what, in this one, I'm going to show you how to use Google Tag Manager, how to set up Google Analytics, how to fire events properly. Particularly, this is going to be in Webflow. Now, we build in Webflow. If you're looking for help, maybe you're a Webflow designer, maybe you make beautiful websites. I just want you to know we do not poach clients whatsoever. If you love your Webflow system and you want help getting the back end set up, or if you want to run excellent paid search ads or remarketing ads, you want to make sure that you're targeting, you want to help your clients, go to feedbackwrench.com. Here's my website. We really take pride in helping people set things up really well. Otherwise, just follow along. If this is helpful, I'm telling you, like and subscribe. Generally speaking, we help accountants, professional services, financial services, construction, all sorts of industries like that. But without further ado, we're going to dive right in. So real quick, I have got a website, a client website already that we're going to check out. And I'm going to show you from end to end how to set up everything from Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Google Events, Google Ads conversions. We're going to hit on Facebook advertising. We're going to create audiences, custom conversions. We're going to do the whole thing. So buckle up. This is going to be like a free thing. And I tell you what, if there's specific things that you're wondering how to do for all of these setups, it's 2021. It's the middle of the summer. This is as tan as I get. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. This is content that we create to help people. But definitely go to feedbackwrench.com if you want help with this. You don't want to mess with it. So right off the bat, let's go to my client's website. So it's fitnesstaxes.com, and these guys do accounting and bookkeeping for fitness professionals and coaches. So we're going to move fast here. So again, this is in Webflow, and I'm going to show you. We're going to set up the Google Tag Manager. And Google Tag Manager, if you don't know where it is, if you come to Google Analytics, you can hit this little Tag Manager thing here, and you can get going there. Otherwise, if you get lost, you can just Google Tag Manager, and it'll show up, right? So Google Tag Manager. So it's developers at Google whatever, I have it marked here. It's tagmanager.google.com is what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an account for this company. We're going to go fitness taxes, and these guys are great. We're going to share all the data. You'll have to just decide how you feel about that. We'll clean it up afterwards. So I'm going to I always copy and paste the URLs just to try and eliminate human error. It gets to be kind of goofy, but what we're going to do is we're going to put the content or the URL in here. We're then going to say that this is for web because this is a website. Obviously, if you're an app or iOS app, it's a little bit different, and we're going to hit create. So the first thing that happens here is you create the actual account, which is a Google Tag Manager account. We're going to connect this to Google Analytics and everything. But let me just show you what you get here is a head code and a body code or a footer code. And the idea is Google Tag Manager is basically what deploys all of your tags. So all your JavaScript tags, your Facebook tags, and it allows you to create triggers. We'll talk about what this actually does in just a second, but instead of having 10, 15 different codes or JavaScript codes installed in your head on your website for this and that, we're just going to have one. So I'm going to grab the head code in Webflow. I'm going to come over to the custom code. I'm going to go into the head code, and I'm going to paste that there. I'm going to grab the secondary code here, which is the body code, and I'm going to paste that inside of the footer, and I want to keep moving. Again, pause it, ask questions if you need. Go to feedbackwrench.com if you need any help. So boom, we've done that. Now again, once I've saved it here, I have to publish it within Webflow. So we publish that. I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to be the first thing. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm simultaneously going to go over, and I don't think I created this yet, but I haven't created a fitness taxes for, I'm just going to start on my own. And what you do here is you're going to go to the admin tab, and I'm going to create a new account. Oh, real quick. With Google Analytics, there's two types of accounts. There's a UA and a G4 property for, which is kind of confusing. We'll get there, but you have the account, the property, and the view. I'm going to create a new account because I'm going to hand this over to my clients and add him. So I'm going to say create account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say fitness taxes. And this is kind of there's a new property type, which is this G4, which is really powerful, but right now I'm going to show you how to deploy both so that you don't have a problem here. And remember, Google Analytics, I'm going to name this fitness taxes, and I'm going to and this is where I'm going to pause. If I just hit next, it's 2021, June 21st and 2021. If I were to just hit next, what this is going to do is simply create a G4 property, which automatically fires all sorts of events and tags, and it is powerful. I want that installed. That's a new version of Google Analytics, but I also want the old one because that's where I'm familiar. My clients are familiar. We're learning the new one, but I'm going to deploy both of them so that we know them. Now, if I were to just hit next, that's all it would do. You have to hit show advanced options. And by showing these advanced options, which is right here, I'm going to say create a Google Analytics property as well, or a universal. And I'm going to put in my, I'm going to go over again. I like to copy and paste my information here. Where'd it go? Tag manager. No, I'm in analytics. I know where I'm going. And I'm going to paste that in here, take off the HTTPS. And now I could make just the UA or the old style, but I'm going to create both and I'm going to deploy both. Now it's just going to ask who we are. We're, I don't know, health, finance, business, and industrial, whatever. We're very small. And measure lead generation is why we want to do this. And I hit next, I hit OK, I agree. So now what we're going to do is the first thing I always do in Google Tag Manager. So we've created these analytics accounts. Now we're going to deploy them. And that's really what Google Tag Manager is all about. The tag is all about deploying code into your website. So what I want you to know here, so we created these. We're going to come back to this. But I'm going to give you a quick overview of what Google Tag Manager does. So long story short, it's kind of an if-then statement, okay? You have variables, which are like the ingredients inside of a thing. Then you have triggers, which is like if I fill out a form, or if I click on a link, or if I play a video for 50% of its video, or if I hit 3 pages, or something like that, that's a trigger. And then the tag is what's going to occur when that trigger happens. So for example, we could make a trigger, and the trigger might be, and here's where we're going to go with it. When you click the phone link, that's going to be a trigger. And that's like the if in an if then sentence. Okay. If you click this, or if this action occurs, and then the tag is the then do this. So we're going to make a couple of triggers that are going to be really important to our website. And I'm going to show you how that's done. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a couple ingredients that are not in here right away. And I'm going to do that by hitting variables. And when I come to variables, there's a little button here called configure. And there's 2 of them that I know that I like to use, which is form ID and click URL. So click, under clicks, I like the trigger of if you click a certain URL, it's going to work. And under form, I like to use, and if this form ID, which I'll show you, every form has a form ID to it. I like to use that as a trigger. So those are little ingredients. All that's done is kind of add them in options for triggers. So now basically you have these tags, which we haven't gotten to, and then triggers. Now real quick, there's already a trigger in here called all pages. All pages means to fire this on all pages, right? So that's already in there. So let's just imagine that has been created, this trigger of on any page, we're going to deploy a couple pieces of code. The first ones I always do are the Google Analytics codes, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. We'll come back to triggers, and I'll just tell you, we're going to create a trigger for this website when you hit the call button or when you fill out this specific form. I'm going to inspect it, and I know that the form IDs are always lined up like this. I use form ID. The form ID is called email-form. In fact, I'll grab that real quick. Let's do that. All right, we're skipping around a little bit. I'm going to create a trigger. We'll do that in a second. But right now, let's deploy the Google Analytics. We're not going to jump around. So Google Analytics code, we're going to hit tags. So again, it's almost like we've already made the trigger. We're going to hit new, and I'm going to call this Analytics G4, and I'm going to deploy both the UA and the G4. And now you'll see there's 2 things here. There's the tag configuration and the trigger. Well, the trigger here is going to be all pages. But up here, what I want to do is when I click on trigger, there's a whole bunch of preset things in here. The ones that you'll generally use are custom HTML, custom image for LinkedIn tracking. You're going to use Google Ads conversions. You're going to use the Google Analytics configuration and the Google UA configuration. Well, right now I've got the G4 set up, and this is the G4 measurement ID is what it's called. For some reason you didn't know where this is. This is a number that we just need, okay? So this is how we're going to install the G4 tracking, which is the newer analytics. We're going to go here and we're going to say, let's do a G4 configuration, which is right here. So let's hit this. And the measurement ID is right here. And I'm just going to leave the rest of it here. This is fine. Not a big deal. You don't have to mess with it. We're going to save that. And then the other one we're going to do is we're going to go on all pages. Let's do the regular analytics. Now the regular UA analytics, let me show you where these actually are. Again, what we've done here is we've actually created a new account. So here's the account. And then there's two properties. You have the G4 and the UA, and the UA has different views. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go to the UA. And all of these, if you come down to admin here, you're going to see the settings. If you go here and you go to property settings, when you go to property settings, you're going to get the tracking ID, which is important for the UA ones. So this is where you get your tracking ID for the UA types. And basically I'm saying on all pages, we're going to do a regular page view. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in our UA code right here. Okay. So we're going to go new variable, and in new variable, a new tracking ID, which is this UA. You just paste this in without any spaces, and I just name it that so we know what we're dealing with. You don't have to mess with auto domain or anything like that. Hit save, and now we're saying all pages, make a page view for this UA. Boom, and save. I had the same name, so I'm going to hit save. All right, let's keep moving, guys. So boom, that's how you set up Google Analytics. I'm going to hit submit. And we're going to say analytics are in there. And when I hit publish, now what this has done is it has actually gone in and put the code in there. And I have this little tool here. It's called the Google Tag Assistant. If I turn that on or enable it, and then I go to refresh, the page will reload sometime. We'll go to home page here, and I can look, and I have one Google Tag Manager deployed. And now if I give it another second, I should have more deployed. I should have some analytics codes pop up there sometime soon. Let's just make sure the whole thing worked. Oh, you got to save that.
Do you want to do 7-ish o'clock at night?
All right, so actually that little tool is not working to show that it's deployed, but it is deployed. You know how I know? So basically what I did, I came over to analytics. I went to real time. I opened up my phone and I went to the website. And basically what that did was show me that, yes, I have one visitor there and it is working. So there we have it, folks. We have it now installed, a Google Analytics G4 and a Google Analytics UA. Again, there's kind of two properties going on here. If I come in, I can look at the G4 as well. And if I go to real time, remember real time is like the day of type of deal. This will deploy in just a little bit. But long story short, we got it going. So there we go. We've got the two in there. Now what we'd like to do is let's create some tag or some triggers. Okay. Again, so that was all pages. We've got the Google Analytics G4. We've got that firing. Things are ready to go. Now we've got to set up some tags, or some triggers. So I know the triggers that I want to have be really important to our campaigns are if you call. That's important. Now I always make the phone number a clickable link. In fact, if you go to copy link address, that's what I'm going to use. When you click this button, you'll see that I've got schedule attacks, and anywhere I put that phone number is going to work that way. And then again, we point all things to one form, or we name the form the same thing so that it actually will be easy to track. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to go to triggers. And triggers is kind of interesting. What we're going to do is we're going to say a new trigger, and I'm going to call this click to phone call. And I just call it that so that it's easy to follow. And I'm going to hit trigger configuration. And if you remember, I added in this links thing. So click just links. So this is saying if you click a link, or not an element, but a link, that's going to be a trigger. And when you add it in there, it tries to use this all link clicks, which would be foolish. That would be every time somebody clicks something. We're going to say this trigger is going to occur when one type of link, in fact, a very specific one, some links. So you select some links, and then you're going to say when a click URL, so when the URL of the link equals, and then I'm going to paste in what I know, and I always do the same, TEL plus 1, which is the US area code, and I never use dashes, and I've just over the years have decided to make that the same. So I'm going to hit save, and that's my first trigger. The second trigger that I know I want is I want this as a form ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here, and I'm going to go to inspect. Now in Webflow, you're able to control the name of the form a little bit. I'll show you that as we're going here. But I know that here's my form, and if I move up a couple, I will find the form ID, which is right here. So now if you look, it says form ID equals, and it's email-form. I'm going to copy the inside of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over, and this is important. You want form. So let's say, well, let's call this email form, and I'm going to paste that name. Now I'm going to say trigger configuration, and down here there's a form submission. Form submission. So we're going to select that, and I'm going to say not all forms. That really doesn't work very well. Just, I'm going to go to some forms, and I'm going to say which forms? Well, the form ID equals that. Okay. Now that's easy. I like Webflow. There are some challenges that occur when you use different themes, different page builders, and I'm not going to hit on that right now. What I will tell you is Webflow is the best. WordPress is nonsense. There's about 50 different reasons why you should switch to Webflow. But anyways, I know not all of you will. So here we're going to save this as a trigger. And the first things that I like to do with these triggers is I like to make Google Analytics events UA events. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to come back to tags, and I'm going to create two different tags. One when each of these triggers go, I want an event to fire in Google Analytics, and these events will serve as the conversion basis. This is just the first way to see if you click this or if you fill this out, does it actually work? We'll send it into Google Analytics, and Tag Manager will actually go boop and push it into Google Analytics as an event. And basically what it'll look like is when you're in, again, I'm in the UA version because that's just where I'm familiar right now. I'm going to go to behavior, and I am going to go to events. An overview of events. Right now, there's hardly any in there because we don't have any events firing. So what we're going to do is, and just, in Google Analytics, these events are just things that occur. And you label them as either category, action, or label. It's kind of weird. We're going to use the category of form or phone, and then I'm going to give it a specific action name. And you'll see what I'm talking about right now. So basically, Tag Manager, new. We're going to say click. So I'm going to call it Analytics, click to phone call. And the tag configuration, well, first let's start on the trigger. The trigger is the click to phone call trigger, which we just made. We don't have to mess with this down here. The tag configuration is going to be Google Analytics. So the UA Analytics right here. That's what I'm going to use. I'm focusing on that right now. And then when that occurs, I'm going to select my ID. So it's that ID. So now it's when this clicks, it's going to do a Google Analytics. We don't want a page view. We want an event. And then the event has, well, what do you want me to name it? Well, this one's going to be, the category is phone. And I'm going to call it fitness taxes phone click, or FT phone click. And then I'm not going to put anything else here. Now you could label it to say, now when you hit label, there's some of these automatic things. I could hit label and I could say, what was the referrer where did it come from? And it'll get labeled as that. Maybe we'll add that for now. Non-interaction hit, nope. Enable overriding settings in this tag. No, we'll just leave that. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up and hit save. So now what we've said is when this trigger, when you click that phone, we're going to go test this in a second. Do a Google Analytics event, name it a category of phone, and name it an action of FT phone click. And I do that so that I can identify it. And then I'm going to hit save. And let's do the same thing with that form. So let's hit new. And we'll do form. Or I always start with analytics, form, and we'll go tag configuration, Google Analytics. We'll go to trigger. We'll say, what was it? Form email dash form. We'll even say email dash form. Let's come in here. We'll go to event. We'll fire an event. It's going to be called category form. There's kind of some, you don't have to put a category in there. Sometimes I don't. And then what should we name this? FT form. Okay. And going to that UA again. And boom, let's say, okay, let's hit save. And I'm going to recap. We're going to finish this. We're going to go on to part 2 in just a second here. But remember, we do all those changes. We're going to submit it. And we're going to say analytics events added. Okay. And part of what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show you how to test it. We're actually going to test it. And we're going to go to the UA or the Google Analytics real quick because there's some things I want to pay attention to. Okay. To do a good setup, I'm going to move quickly here. You're going to go down to admin. And I want you to go to the property settings. And in property settings, make sure that this is filled out. Make sure that you've put in the default to be exactly what it's actually going to be. And then what I do is I will turn on enable demographics interest, use enhanced link attribution, and I'll hit save. Now there's another thing in here that we're going to want to do. And this is setting up the Google Search Console. This is incredibly important. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and I'm going to open up. You just search Google Search Console. And this is critical. I think this is going to make this one of the best 2021 Google Analytics setups possible. So it's search.google.com. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to come here, you're going to hit start now. And what Search Console is we are going to be able to hook this up to the Google, Google search. So basically what you're going to do is come up here. How many times do I say basically? Go up here and hit add property. A property is going to be a website. Okay. And what this is going to do is going to kind of empower Google to crawl this. It's going to tell us information. We're going to get all sorts of cool reports about what's going on in search. And what we're doing right now is hooking this up to Google Analytics. So we're going to hit add property. And at first, well, there's two types. There's domain and URL. The first one I usually do is the URL and I just copy the thing. So we'll use the home page, right? And again, I like to just copy and paste. It's a habit to eliminate human error. I'm going to paste the whole thing in there because there's such thing as the www and non-www. You probably want to add them all. Google has gotten better at making this. I'm going to hit continue. And what this is going to do is say, hey, you need to do something to prove you have this, right? Well, I've installed Google Analytics, but if I hit verify, it hardly ever works. You don't like this. So you have to validate that this is your website. Well, the easiest way to do this is and I can never get the Google Tag Manager thing to work either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the HTML tag and I'm going to copy this meta title and I'm going to head back into Webflow. I'm going to go to the page settings. Now, the same place you would put any of this code in your WordPress theme. Usually it's in a WordPress, like the actual theme page. You could paste that code there. So basically it's this little meta title tag. You could also have gone in through the domain registrar, like GoDaddy.com or whatever that is, and you could have added in a TXT file. I think that's another way you could do it, domain name provider, and you would add a TXT file to it. So if you were in like domains.google.com, just like when you're setting up email, there's these TXT files, and you would essentially go there. I got 9 million domains. You're going to see my dirty little habit. So let's say accountingwrench.com. You'll come to the DNS and you'll do something like this. This would be GoDaddy. This could be a couple different places. It's wherever you bought or wherever your name server for your website is. And what you could do is you could create a new record. So custom record, and you would say that this is a TXT file type, right? And it was and I think it was boom. So what we're going to do right now is I already put it in the page. We're going to verify it by that HTML tag that I put in. Let's hit verify. I already hit publish. Usually takes a couple seconds. There's a chance you'd have to go in and do a cache dump on a WordPress page, but we use Webflow, so things are good. I'm going to go to the property. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another one. So I'm going to go to add to property, and I'm just going to type in the same thing here, but it's going to be fitnesstaxes.com. Hit continue. And this will verify because I've already done this once. We got to do this. So maybe we'll do this just a second. Anyways, I don't have access to his DNS provider or to his stuff. So What you'd want to do is add a TXT here. We're going to verify that one later. But the main thing is that we've got the whole site set up. Now, the other thing that you'll want to do once you've got the site, so we've got fitnesstaxes.com submitted here. We'd also want to go down to the, where is it? Settings. And we want to find the sitemap. So make sure that we've gone in and we'll add him here. So under settings, you can add your client as a user. And there's a couple other things that you want to look at. But right now we're going to go to sitemaps. And I know that sitemap.xml is kind of the standard of what, there's actually a URL. And if you do /sitemap.xml, that's the sitemap. So this is actually like the structure of the site. That's pretty common for even WordPress sites for it to be the URL.sitemap.xml. So I'm going to just submit that. And what that does is it makes it easy for Google to crawl that thing, right? Google will periodically access and process this and look for changes. It'll be notified as things change on here. So the reason why we just set all that up is because I want to hook it up to Google Analytics. We're going to move really quick here. Again, when I come to Google Analytics, I'll just show you where this was. Down here, the gear icon, you go to property settings, and down here, you'll see that there's a adjust search console. And what I want to do is I want to hook this thing up to that search console so that back and forth, it will know a little bit of like what's actually happening. So this will come and I want to hit add. And as I hit add, it should open. And I'm going to look for fitnesstaxes.com. Boom. And if I just hit continue, it'll go. So I've got fitnesstaxes.com associated with all of that. Hit yes, associate. And now that kind of ties together. It's one of the important things that you want to do is hook all of your Google accounts up. I'm going to hit done back here at the Google Analytics. And that's one thing that we're going to want to do. Another thing that you'll want to do is you'll eventually want to hook it up to your Google Ads account. I'll show you how to do that in the next video. But now I'm just going to show you how to validate that all these changes happen. So basically we went into Google Analytics. We had a whole bunch of different things that come on. What is going on? So we've got, usually you hit that. There we go. We'll come back, and some things that we're going to do is once we get the events, we're going to make a goal out of the event. We would also want to go and connect it to Google Ads. We'll do that later. I know that we want to put in some filtering. We want to leave out some bot, like our own IP address. We want to get rid of that. We want to add users to this property setting. And lastly, we'll want to create audiences, which is we will then use for all sorts of different things. That will be last. But let's just check our work real quick. Okay. Again, if you need help with this, if you don't like doing this, maybe this is helpful. Please like and subscribe. We're trying to do more of these. We love helping designers. If you're a web designer, boy, we know how to do paid search ads that are absolutely fantastic. We can come alongside you, empower you to do what you do best. And especially if you're in Webflow, we absolutely love it. So real quick, let's validate that everything took. So we had published this whole thing. There's a system within. So I'm just going to close my other window with Fitness Taxes open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this preview button. And what preview is going to do is allow us to open up our work essentially. And I'm going to open up fitnesstaxes.com. And what that will do, I'm going to paste fitnesstaxes.com. Now I'm going to actually close that. Again, I hate typing things in. So I'm going to put in the URL, and what that's going to do is we're going to connect it to this, and we're going to see which tags are firing, okay? We're actually going to do our conversion. So it opened it in a new window here, and this is a new system. I have an old thing out there. I'm going to go to Tag Assistant, and it says connected, good, continue. So what you can see is we've got a new thing loaded, the page loaded. That's great. And if you watch, as I click to like how it works, you'll see that a new one opened, right? So you see that I did a link click, okay? Now the tags that are here and not fired, there's some tags that are not firing. They're just there, which is fine. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to hit the phone button. It doesn't work there, but at least does that. And if we come back here, link click, look at that, tag fired, analytics, click to phone call. Also, I bet if I go to real time and I go to events, now this sometimes takes a little bit to understand. Boom. You'll see in the real time, I've got an event, category of phone, and boom, there's my event action. So I can see that it's working. This is good. It's a success. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on and we're going to fill out that form and see what happens. So, Rob Satrom, testing. I'm interested in virtual CFO, submit. Oop, that's an email. We'll do big Rob. Boom, submit. Reach out and touch someone. And we come here and you'll see here's all the actions that happen, right? Form submit. Boom, we have an event. And boom, we have another event. It's always good when this happens. So now I've got these 2 events that we know occurred, and I'm going to make those into conversions because those are very important for me. I'm just going to copy this FT form. So it's FT form. We'll remember that FT form phone click. We'll just make this. And let me show you one last step here. So now we know that that's working. This is good. We're going to end this video pretty quick here. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to say disconnect. I've got that working. This is like the first part. This is one of one. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you in the next video. Actually, we'll do the next video. I'm going to show you how to make that a conversion in Google Analytics so you can see how that works. And we're going to start going to Google Ads and working on that. Good luck. God bless. Like and subscribe. We encourage any questions that you might have. Make comments in there to help us out so that we can afford to do this stuff, man. We just want to help. We definitely have a business. We got a small team, web designer, project manager team, video guy. We'd love to help your small business out. If you're a Webflow developer, boy, or designer, we'd love to help you out. So go to feedbackwrench.com. Good luck.